welcome to the Hip Hop Hustle podcast. I'm extremely excited about my next guest, the one and only Trealetic. And for people who haven't been following you too much, there's one thing that they got to understand is you're more than just an artist as well. You've got your movie production as well that you do, Dub and Fox Entertainment. So you've had 3 movies that y'all have made. So Checkmate, Bound to Get Ya, and Rumors as well. They're all on YouTube. And you've got your most recent single, Go Ahead Now. So you've been a busy man over the past recent period. Why both? Like, why movies and music?
Well, I mean, I started off with just doing the music, for a thing. And then after a while, wasn't really getting too much traction with that. So the movies, that was actually a way of, I started doing that as a way to kind of get myself out there and kind of promote the music, So when I started doing that, I started liking it, doing the movies and that and trying to balance both of them. So I was like, I just got with my partner and my best friend, Doug Banks, and we just decided we was just like, hey, why not just do our own thing with the independent films and all. So, we got, and then we just started doing that like 2 years ago with the first one being Checkmate. And then we followed that with the Bound to Get You. And we just started like going from there. We got 3 of those. We got those on Tubi and Amazon Prime. So, then I like the creative aspect of it with the movies, with the writing and everything, as well as the music, writing and being creative. That's always been my thing right there. And I get, the inspiration from a lot of, you see a lot of musicians getting into the movies. You got the Ice Cubes and you got the Ice T's and LL Cool J. So I get a lot of inspiration for them type of guys, that can balance the music and transition into the movies. So, I got that going on. And, once I started doing the movies and stuff, everything kind of started moving a little faster with the music also. So it's kind of funny how that worked out well for me, with that. So that's how, I kind of balance both of them now. Music in the movies, and that's how I got to start doing both like that at one time.
So why do you think the movies pushed your music forward as opposed to just the music?
I mean, a lot of times, with the music, you have to have like if you don't have a team behind you, you're not gonna get too far in the music industry. You got to have a team, marketing, promotion, all of that management. And I wasn't being properly managed in that field of entertainment. So, I can tell people now from my personal experiences, if you're trying to do some music or modeling or anything else, if a good way to get yourself out there is explore your other talents, because your other talents that you may have may be that key to really get you off the ground, what you're really trying to do. Get your, if people start recognizing you and seeing your face and getting you get out there like that in entertainment, they're going to want to know, okay, what else can this guy do? Okay, he do music also. Okay, I'm going to go check that out. Check that out also. You can bind all of them together, It's kind of like an alternate way of promoting yourself. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, I find it interesting because when I look at you, I'm like, I wonder which way it's because it feels like at some point you mentioned Ice-T, Ice Cube, all those guys, they ultimately ended up focusing on movies and that part of their career. Do you have a gut feeling as to which way you're going to go? Because to pump out 3 movies in 2 years is very impressive.
Well, eventually I'm trying to elevate from the independent scene. Like, that what that is right now is basically, it's almost like practice. Like, if you a basketball player You know, you got to go to high school, you got to go to college and all of that before you make it to the pros. And, you know, that's basically what I'm doing right now is taking a step at a time, transitioning into, you know, from independent into B-list into bigger things on in the future. And then at the same time, I'm still focusing on my music because it's like, okay, you talk about the music. I do more of the R&B thing now is more than hip hop. Started off as hip hop rapper, you know, straight hip hop. And I transitioned into the R&B because I feel like, you know, you have more longevity with that as opposed to the rapping. You know, you can stick around a little longer, you know, anything with entertainment or whatever it might be, you know, like those guys I mentioned, like they, you know, of course they're not going to be relevant in music anymore, but you still, you know, like Ice-T, he's on Law and Order, you know, he ain't rapped in years or whatever, but he's still relevant because he's on that show and he's still doing things. You know, you got to train yourself to do more than one thing to keep yourself fresh and relevant and keep reinventing yourself. You know, that's basically what my goal is to, you know, basically keep myself active in that field, in the entertainment field.
Well, I think you have to keep reinventing yourself and finding the new part of yourself and exploring who you become. Because I think you're right that if you're the same person for 30 years, it gets boring as shit. Everyone's like, man, I heard this already. And I seen you do this already.
Yeah.
But
yeah, people will forget about you.
Yeah, because they literally don't see any development. But you said something that's really interesting to me. You think there's more longevity in R&B than being a rapper. Why is that?
Well, you know, it's basically, you know, people have that stigma of, oh yeah, you get to a certain point or a certain age, like, oh, you know, nobody wants to hear too much of, you know, this old guy rapping or whatever. You know, I hate that about hip hop, but you know, that's the reality of it because that's one of the youngest genres in music. And everybody got this kind of stigma about it that, oh, it's a young man's game. So, okay, what do you do when your time, you know, you had your time? Okay, come up with something else. You know, you can be and I see a lot of the other older rappers, they doing podcasts now, you know, and they're, like I said, acting. They got their own shows or they got other business ventures they may be doing, but they still able to make a good income for themselves, you know, because they staying active and they doing other things. Like, you know, you're doing the music, learn how to produce or whatever, or, you know, anything to keep yourself active. You don't want to just stick to that one thing, and that when that run out, you're just like lost, don't know what to do, you know. So just keeping yourself active, man, I feel like that's more important. I feel like, you know, you get out there and make other things happen for yourself, and you know, you will last very long in the entertainment world.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I look at artists now, and in a way, they're as old as that they've ever been. The real success, like obviously, you see the young artists popping up and they pop off. But when I look at people like Kendrick and I look at people like Cole and I look at people that, you know, Cardi B isn't young and Megan Thee Stallion isn't young, they're all actually much older than what used to be the norm. Like when Nas came out, he was extremely young. He was still a teenager. I look at Mobb Deep, I look at NWA, they were extremely young. So I think in a weird way, there is a lot of ability for artists to become big when they're older. Look at Griselda. They didn't become who they are until their 30s. And in hip hop, that you're ancient by that time in the mindset. So I think there's definitely an evolution though, that it's no longer just you have to be a teenager or in your early 20s. I think it helps just with the younger generation.
Yeah, I mean, if you know how to change with the times, and not everybody knows how to do that though. Everybody, you'll have a few that know how to change with the times and not, become dated, and be able to, you have somebody every once in a while that can still make hits, like Snoop, he's an icon. He can make a song right now that'd be a hit, or a feature on somebody else's song and it'll be a hit. Not everybody can do that. You'll find a few. That's only, that's a once in a blue moon kind of thing, But yeah, it's just, that's just really like, just in case that you don't reach that level to where you can keep doing music when you're, when you hit that age, this is a little something that you can think about and fall back on, and you can still be able to do your other ventures and have fun with your music, because if you got that love for it, of course, you're not going to want to stop. Some people just do it for the love and not for, they don't care if they sell another record, as long as they still can be able to do it and enjoy themselves. So, that's cool. I feel like I want to do music forever, whether it's singing, producing, or anything that's involving music. That's always been a passion of mine. I just want I want to do it forever. Something involving music, whether it's singing, producing, engineering, or managing artists, anything. It's just the love for the sport.
Yeah, it's interesting when I speak to people like you, because having love for music, and you clearly like music, but then getting into the industry, was there a bit of shock at, okay, this is more than just making good music? Like, this is very much, you said it's a sport and it's like a game and it's a business, but was there any shock of the reality of what it was to come into the music industry?
I mean, I wouldn't say it was a shock, because I've been around people that, they'll kind of warn you about the pros and cons of getting into the game. So, I've been through it all. It's like, the shock would be, I would say the shock would be like, you have so many failures trying to get into the game, and when things finally start looking up for you, like in my case, it's like, oh wow, this, like, it's not up until recently I start having kind of success with it. That taught me that, lesson, like when people tell you to keep going and never give up, that's what came to my mind when all of that started happening with the recent success that I've been having. Because it's like, there'll be times where like, oh man, this ain't gonna happen, and I'm gonna just give this up, because I tried everything and nothing works. But when it finally does work, it's kind of a shock. But as far as like the ins and outs of the industry, it wasn't too much of a shock experience in it, because I've already been warned about the industry and the good and the bad and the upside and downside of everything. So, it's more of a shock when it's like, oh, I can't believe this happening to me. You have so much. It's almost like if you have a lot of bad luck and you finally get lucky, it's a shock to you yourself. So yeah.
You become paranoid. Like, even when you get good luck, you think that the good is like, you don't trust it.
Yeah, you think think it's a catch to it or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Funny how it is that sometimes, like, we create, I sometimes think our outlook creates what we want in a way. Like, what I think is going to create my reality. So if I think everything's out to get me, it's going to get out. It's going to be out to get you. But if I look for the positivity, if I look for the success, ultimately over a period of time, you'll get that success.
Yeah, that's kind of like when people say you speak things into existence. That's the same thing. You think negative and you're gonna get negative results. So I had to learn that myself by so many times. It feel like, ain't nothing working out. Like, well, you got to think positive, and positive things will happen.
Yeah.
And you keep, pushing. Keep
Let me
on
ask
pushing.
you this. When was the last time you thought about quitting?
I would say it's been a while. It's been a while since I thought about quitting. I think the last time I thought about quitting actually motivated me to not quit. Because I was like, I always been a person that never like been. I thought about. I used to think negative, but I'll still go ahead and make a try for it and see what happens before I actually quit. So, the last time, I don't think I can remember the last. It's been so long. It's been so long since I ever like thought about trying to like quit, and I'm like, well, let me try before I quit. Let me try a different approach and see if that works before I just up and quit. Because I never wanted to be looked at as a quitter in my life. I just wanted to, see if I'm gonna do the best I can to the best of my ability, and quitting is not an option right now. So that only made me even stronger and more determined to reach goals, and everything looking up. I got a lot of projects going on right now. So believing, like I said, speaking things into existence, that, that can work wonders for you if you just stick with it, be focused.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's good that you haven't thought about quitting in a long time. It's annoying that I've brought it up.
Oh, no.
But wait, because I'm always interested in the journey of an artist, and I'm always interested in, the lowest point, and how every artist, and no matter in any career, every person, there's always a low point for them up until now. And I'm always interested in, what is it that gets you out of that low point? What is it that, you're sitting there, you're feeling like shit, you're thinking about, where is my life at? And then to pick yourself up and keep going. So do you have a moment like that where you were like, this sucks? Like, this shit is just horrible. And what was it that got you out of it?
Well, I would say when people, you'll have a couple of people being negative around you and saying, oh, you're not going to do this and that. When people tell me that I can't do something, that really motivate me to show them like, oh yeah, I'm gonna show you, that you're wrong. And that
so funny. I'm exactly the same way.
Yeah, I'm gonna, I like to show people how wrong they are, so that's gonna make me keep on going and motivate me. Oh, okay, you think I can't do this? Okay, I'm gonna show you. I ain't never been, never been really a low point like when you mentioned like the low points that artists have before they get to the high points. I would say like when I first started getting like really heavy into the music, I was with this group. Yeah, it was like 5 of us. I would say though the lowest points was the frustration of being in a group. If everybody not on the same page as you are, that can be the most miserable, frustrating thing ever, because you feel like you're the only one putting the effort into it, and you wasting so much time because one guy, you got 1 or 2 of the guys in the group that are serious about what we doing, but then you got the other 2 that are just like nonchalant, whatever. They not pulling a weight, and then it's feeling like you just wasting a whole bunch of time with these people around you. And that's why I always tell people, like, if you're gonna have people around you taking them on the journey with you. You got to make sure everybody is on the same page. You don't want one bad apple spoiling everything, slowing everybody down and just keeping everything stagnated, because that's gonna hurt you in the long run. And that's a lot of time being wasted with just dealing with people around you that's not got your best interest. Because I had to cut people off and get away from a lot of situations to get to point where I'm at right now. I had to do a lot of that in the past as my first beginning steps of getting into the music. Even with the movies, you get people that want to be involved, but then you'll have to replace a lot of people that want to waste your time, and they're not about business. They're just there, hanger-ons and stuff. So, once you get around somebody, I start getting around positive people that want to see me win. That adds more motivation to the goal that I'm trying to reach. You got to make sure that you surround yourself with people that want to win along with you. So the lowest point, the beginning stages will probably always be your worst. You got to go with the low points. You got to get with the low points before you get to the high points anyway. So, you got to go through all of that. That just makes you stronger and tougher and more determined. So, yeah, I would say.
Yeah, it's interesting working with other people, because for me personally, there's something freeing about it's in my control, that it's all on me. And that's why I love doing this, is because at the end of the day, there's no one sitting behind me going, hey, you got to do this. It's all self-motivated. And there's something about that being an independent artist. It's the freedom to you build the team you want to have, but ultimately it's on you. And I love not being told what to do. It's the best. It's so freeing for not to have a boss be like, hey, you got to do this, or not to have, people in your crew be like, hey, you got to do this. It's like you can literally choose your own path and make your own destiny. And there's something scary about that, but there's also something extremely freeing about it, because at the end of the day, you only got one person to look at in the mirror. If it's good or bad, it's up to you. And there's something really liberating about that. So you must have found that like once you moved from being in a group and to, taking responsibility, that it is much easier and much better for your ultimate end, because there are no more excuses, because there's no one else to blame other than yourself.
Yeah, you being your own boss. That's like at a job, you got a supervisor and all of this and that hovering over your shoulder and, trying to intimidate you and stuff. And yeah, like I said, with the group thing, like if if everybody ain't on the same page and you got somebody just wasting your time, you're going to be doing a lot of procrastinating, because when you in a group, you got to move as a unit. And if everybody, you move as a unit, like that's like a whole body movement. If one limb is not working, that's going to kind of stagnate the whole body, so yeah, I had to get me in a better situation to move forward, because once I realized that, because it's another thing when you're working with family or friends, you kind of feel like, well, I don't want to leave my buddy behind, because, you got that friendship with them, or you working with your brother or something like that. And you probably have a hard time telling them, yo, we gotta get moving on this, or you don't want to say anything to hurt their feelings or anything. And you got to work. You're thinking about that. And then you're thinking about, well, wait, if I fire this guy, that's going to ruin our friendship, so that's all there's a lot come with that. You got to deal with all of that, going through emotions. So yeah, it's kind of hard to balance that when you're working with a group, especially with friends or family members. So you know that's a tough road to try to balance the two with business.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely agree with that. It's hard with friends. I started this podcast with friends. That was how we began. It was the three of us. And we started during like COVID, and it was more just an excuse to hang out and talk about hip hop albums. And the longer it went, the more serious I wanted to take it. The more I wanted to spend money, spend more time, speak to guests. When we started, we didn't interview anybody. It was just us reviewing hip hop albums. And then I was like, I think we need to, because it's exhausting reviewing a full album. We were writing like 3,000 words each. Like, we were writing so much, and our episodes were like 2.5, 3 hours. And it was just becoming too much to get, and one episode a week. And so that's when I started interviewing people, and I was in this space of, hey, I think I want to take this more serious. I want to invest more. And I was very fortunate that my friends were not holding me back. They were understanding of what I wanted, and they weren't on the same page. And they were like, you know what? I'm willing to take a step back and let you kind of do your dream. And so I was fortunate, but I look back on that, and at the time I was very nervous about what it would do to our friendship. I was very nervous about just how it would make them feel, and just what the risk is of going, hey, I don't want to do this with y'all anymore. I think I need to do it on my own.
Yeah, those are some good friends right there. To say that they're gonna let you do that and not hold you back. So that lets you know you got some real good, true friends right there. That they didn't get upset or none of that. They just let you go and follow your goals and your dreams.
I think they were more upset that I was like, hey, I want to do more. And they were like, I don't really, like, they were just more reluctant to put in more work. But yeah, I'm very fortunate that they were, and we're still friends to this day. So it definitely didn't change anything. But yeah, I think it's a good test of everyone's friendship when things don't really work out, and it's like, all right, can we put aside our petty differences and still be friends? And are they going to resent it later down the track? So far, no resentment. So it's been like 2 years since.
Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, because that could have went in a whole different direction. Like I said, that lets you know who your real friends are, because you got the real friends, and then you got the ones that are fake. The opposite real friends. You could have had some friends that would have gotten upset with you and just started disrespecting you all kind of way because they're mad. Because I had this situation, it'd be a couple of situations where you have a friend and they'll, the argument might not be like a real big deal, and they just start saying stuff like, oh, well, just, hey, you ugly. Well, that's why, yeah, this and that. You tell them something confidential or personal, and they get mad at you, and they'll throw it back in your face. That's not a real friend. What I consider not a real friend.
Yeah, I agree. I think true friendship is shown in times of difficulty.
Yeah, like what their reaction to things. You get so mad at your friend to the point where you're just like no holds barred, and you just say any old kind of thing. That makes me think that this is some stuff that you've been wanting to say to me the whole time, but you're using this time now to say it. So that's, at that point, is like, oh, okay, you wasn't my friend to begin with, because you're saying this stuff right here to attack me and say things because you think it's gonna hurt me over a petty argument.
Yeah.
So that's why I keep, I kind of keep like a tight, close circle of friends anyway. So.
Yeah. Well, I think also when you're going through difficulty as well, like, you really see who's there for you. It's because it's easy to be your friend when everything's gold and green. And when it's in that period where life's good, you got the bag, like you're just happy, it's easy to be your friend in that period. It's tough to be your friend when you're struggling. And that is also the other test is like, did you know me when I had nothing? And have you been my friend through all the shit and all the shit that I put you through, and just seeing me do all the random shit that I've been doing? Like, how was our friendship then? Because if we were friends then, we're going to be friends no matter what happens with the rest of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's almost like if you're with a female or whatever, and you probably got a little bit of money and, making six figures, and she's with you, and you go through a drought in your life where you might not have that much money, and she just leaves you all of a sudden, and you figure like, well, wow, she just, she just up and left because I guess she was just there for the money. So, that'll be easy to figure out who's real and who's artificial.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird life like that it can just the people around you cannot be who they seem to be. And to be honest, I don't really understand it, how they are okay with it. You know what I mean? Like, how are people okay with just disregarding people close to them? Like, I don't know. I don't know how people kind of live with themselves. Like, I would look back and feel so guilty of like the shit that I put through somebody.
Yeah, it's like these is crazy because it's like these days this disrespect is like champion these days. It's just like with the rappers and everything, you got these, you got a lot of rappers, they disrespecting the dead now. They making songs about they are dead homies or something like that, and they're mocking death, and social media just made it cool to be disrespectful. Like the nice guys, it's like, oh, they're lame and all that, Yeah, it's crazy now. Because disrespect used to be frowned upon, now it's champion. So it's crazy how things turned out for the worse now.
Yeah, but I think here's the thing. Disrespect can only last so long before it comes to get you.
Yeah.
There is a short life if you think that disrespect is the way to go. And I'm not just talking about physically, I'm talking about success, and I'm talking about your career. I'm talking about everything in life. That ultimately, if you choose the path of disrespect, people will remember and they will get you back because they will remember. But there is a power to kindness that is misunderstood, I think. That being respectful and being kind and being a good person is actually a form of strength, not a form of weakness. And it feels like exactly what you're saying, that they're saying disrespect is strength. But I actually think it's the weakness. It shows who you really are. It's the show of character. You're showing a weakness of character. But if you can be kind and respectful, but still hold true to your values, that is actually the show of strength that you should be showing.
Yeah. A lot of people don't, go by that analogy because, like I said, you have these, you have the celebrities or the musicians, they're like disrespectful to their fans, beating them on and, just calling them broke, degrading them. And those are the people that mainly got them to where they're at now. But it's like, if you're you trying to be nice, they look at that as like you said, weakness. And then it goes, some people don't think like, well, they might not be on top forever, and the people that they disrespected on their way up are the same people they're gonna have to see on their way down. Like you said, they'll come back to you because the old saying, the bigger you are, the harder you fall. that's true right there.
Yeah. And don't burn your bridges. You don't want to be at the
Yeah,
top by
exactly.
yourself with no one to
Yeah,
trust
exactly.
and no one around you, because they're all coming to get you. It's like being the king, or being, everyone wants to kill you. Everyone wants to see you fall. And so you need to have friends and you need to have people close to you. And, you know, we're not saying that you just be nice and you let people walk over you,
Yeah,
but to carry yourself in a respectful manner is ultimately, it's, yeah, I just don't understand the opposite. I don't understand how you can be okay with being disrespectful. And because
yeah,
if someone disrespects you, you feel like shit and you want to get back at them. So why would you create the same thing? I think, I wonder how much it is like the culture of hip hop versus what's being pushed in social media and what we see on TV.
yeah. I would say hip hop has a lot of influence on that. With the kids and everything, they teaching how to be disrespectful. If people get that money, man, that kind of blind them. They feel like they untouchable. Like that's gonna, they feel like that's gonna last forever. And then like you said, you got the kids around here being influenced by that, so they'll go home and be disrespectful to their parents, and they think it's cool. So that's why it's good to just like you said in hip hop. You got to have a balance between that. Everybody can't just you can't just be disrespectful and think that's the thing to do, and that's cool. That's not always cool to be disrespectful. Like you said, you burn all your bridges, you won't have nobody to run to in the end of it.
And everybody says, every artist I speak to, it's all relationships. It's all, how did I get here? Well, I knew this person who helped me out and put a connection through. They liked what I did. They liked who I was. And so they helped me and they got me here. Or I got this feature because I'm friendly with the artist. It took me a while, but we became friends and we started to like interact. That's literally every story I hear. It's relationships.
Yeah.
So if you don't know how to maintain a relationship, whether business or friend or otherwise, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Like that's all this is. It's all relationships.
Yeah. Nobody can do it by themselves. A lot of people, I hear a lot of cats saying that they, I did this by myself, and no. Nobody does it by themselves. You're gonna need help in some kind of way. Nobody does it by themselves. You got to keep, you show people that you professional and you to be trusted and you honorable with the people that you're meeting or networking with. That's going to come back to you. Good things keep continuing to happen for you. If one avenue closes, this other person that you built the relationship with might be able to help you get into another situation. So, that all works out like that in the end.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wonder how much the artists who talk about disrespect are actually disrespectful in real life. Part of me is questioning, like, do you just rap about it or do you just talk about it? Or is it also the reality?
It could go both ways, because a lot of times, like I said, the artists, will probably be disrespectful because they feel like that's the only way people are gonna listen to them or like them, is if they're being disrespectful. That person probably not really like that for real. They like, oh well, everybody else is doing it, and they like this cat over here. So let me go ahead and I got to be disrespectful too. So let me do this. But you might have some people that's actually disrespectful, or you got to look at it. The money might have made them like that, because that money can change. Yeah, that money, man, that can change people for the worse. They start getting that money. That anything happens, they mind get twisted when they start getting that kind of success.
Have you seen people like around you Has that happened to people around you where they get money and it changes them?
Yeah, I'm not talking about. I'm talking about anybody. It's like I've seen people attitude change when they get a tax return, a tax return that's gonna last for about a week or two, and their whole attitude change. Like you just got this a couple of $1,000. Like, bro, you're not rich. Like, chill. That's everyday life. Somebody get a little bit of change and they start acting crazy. So I can imagine what they'll act like when they get a bigger check. So I don't know. That's just people, man.
Yeah. Because I've thought about this recently as well. Is like, I think it really does change you when you have money and success. The values you hold are very different because you suddenly look at yourself differently, especially when you work for it. When you win money, like when you win the lottery, those people still feel the same way. Even though they're rich, that's why they lose it all, is because they still remember and they still feel like they're not rich because they didn't earn that money. It's luck. Whereas, and when people earn it, I think their values change of like their own self-perception, like they earn more. And I think you see this quite a lot. A lot of people who made a lot of money but then lose a lot of money struggle to really have any self-worth and self-identity. They've tied all their self-worth to money and just to their job. And I think it's really important to make sure that there's like, you're still you without the cash. And if the only thing holding you together is the cash, then it could be gone at any moment. No one knows. The recession hits and then everything changes. So we see both sides of how success and failure changes people.
Yeah, like you said with the now, when people have a lot of money and they probably feel like they're a failure after they lose it, But that I mean, like I said, that could come from just pure karma, or just you're burning a lot of your bridges, and you're having a hard time trying to gain that same amount of money that you had back. So that's why it's important not to be disrespectful to people.
Well, even Mike Tyson, there's a video of Mike Tyson, and I find Mike Tyson such an interesting person because of who he was, the darkness he has and had in him, and who he's become now as an older man, and the success he's shown across multiple avenues. But when he talks about he misses the aggressive, angry version of himself, but he's also scared of that version of himself. It's super interesting to hear when, he said that he feels like a bitch because he's scared of that guy who's no longer there. It's like hidden. He's pushed it down. And it's like, if you feel like a bitch sometimes, it just makes me wonder. And it's crazy because if there is one person on the planet right now that everyone's like, he's not a bitch, it's probably Mike Tyson. Everyone's like, so it's really weird how that plays in terms of people's personalities and the evolution of who they become.
Yeah, he probably feel like, I guess a shell of himself. And that's probably what it is, but, the man's, he's in his 50s. So, of course he can't be out there doing the same kind of things that he was doing in his 20s, and he probably, I don't know, it could be a thing where he, this is the old him because, that was probably a time of his life where he was living it up, So.
But yeah, tell me about you and your movies, because we kind of touched on it. We didn't talk about it too much yet. But how was it, like, figuring out how to make a movie? It's one thing to say that you're going to make a movie, but how was it to actually figure it out and be able to turn around and be like, here's 90 minutes of a movie that I made from start to finish, from casting, script, shooting, editing, distribution, all of it?
I mean, with that, it was kind of like a learn as you go process with that, because at first when we decided we was gonna start, me and Thug Banks, we was gonna do the movies and everything. We didn't have a clue where to start. We just, the only thing we knew is like, okay, we gotta write a script. We gotta get the characters to play the roles, and we gotta get a cameraman and all of that, and we gotta figure out how we gonna get this thing edited. We like with the first movie, we made a lot of, we had a lot of little hiccups and mistakes and that, and we looked like, oh, okay, we supposed to, do it this way, or shoot this that way, or do this effect that way, or figure out the camera settings and all that. With the it's kind of like music, like when you think of the song, you got to write the song, the concept, and come up with what you're gonna write about and all. And like, we started out with that first movie, we wrote half of the script and half of it was improvised, because it was just really a test run, that it was like practice for real. And then by the time the second and third movie came around, we kind of already knew, like, okay, we had a better understanding of what we needed to do in the process of getting the movie done and all of that. And after we got the movie done, the editing and everything together, then the distribution part comes in, where, okay, we gotta like ask around, read up on things and see how everything. That's just like with anything that you do. You try to do research and figure out what's the next steps you need to do. Okay, how we gonna get this thing distributed? Go through a company and all of that, and because you look at YouTube, that can teach you a lot of things. Like, you trying to fix a car, you go to YouTube, or you type in or Google or whatever, or how to fix a car, or you go to a mechanic and they'll show you what to do, and you'll look at what they're doing and learn from them. And that's basically the same thing with the movie making process. Go to somebody who are already doing it, and they'll so they can show you the ropes and show you how to get certain things done.
Yeah, well, look, I've started. I used to work on writing a TV show, and it sounds way easier than it is. So I'm always impressed by people who not only are able to put pen to page and pen to paper, but to actually make your vision, and also on a tight budget. I mean, you're not spending millions making these movies. You don't have the money to, like, all right, I'm going to take 3 months and I'm going to have the best camera equipment. We're going to shut down the street. It's one thing to do it when you've got the budget for it. It's another thing to do it when you're on budget and you think about time and money and still getting all these people. So it's pretty impressive to look at and be able to accomplish.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere. Like you said, with the is low budget movies. Some people, you have some people that probably make fun of people who make low budget movies, but you got to start somewhere. You ain't gonna have $1 million freaking budget like you're, freaking Hollywood. That's just like, say, McDonald's or something. They had to start somewhere. They didn't start off as a big corporation starting off the ground. They had to start off as an independent restaurant before they build up to this big corporation where they got all these McDonald's all over the world. You got to start somewhere and move from the ground up. Some people don't understand that if they're not in that world, or they're not trying to create their own business. That's with anything. You got to start somewhere. You are not going to start just strictly with $1 million budget movie and just coming out the gate like that. If you don't have rich parents and none of that stuff, that ain't, that shouldn't stop you from trying to pursue your goal. You want to make movies? Okay, get you a camera or whatever, start off and just do what you got to do. work with what you got, and then you will eventually get to that point, because there's a lot of having to invest your money in a lot of stuff in equipment and all of that. And, because most of the money that you make from your movies got to go, back into your equipment and production costs, distribution costs and all that stuff. So it is a lot. Yeah, it's a lot go into that. Then you got to get you a team around you, that people that you can rely on, your workers and all. So yeah, that's a long process when it comes to trying to get movies and stuff done, even independently.
I mean, it's like being an artist. Like, no one's starting with a studio album. You start with a mixtape. And, with this podcast, I didn't have this set up when I started. I sounded like I was recording through a fucking potato when I started. It was muffly as shit. It was all over the place. But and I think about this a lot, is there's no such thing as perfect.
Yeah.
And if you wait until it's quote unquote perfect to do it, it will never get done.
Yeah.
You just have to do it. You won't know until you try. And you have to, and like you said in yours, you improvise on the run. That brings the best out of you, because necessity is, I think there's a quote, necessity is the mother of all invention. Where if you need it, you'll come up with it. You'll figure it out. And that's just how it is. Same as music, same as working, same as everything. You just have to go for it. And I think a lot of people are paralyzed because they will see a movie like yours and they'll compare and go, I can't do that shit. That's too good. But they're comparing, or they see like a Hollywood movie and they're like, my movie doesn't look like that. And it stops them from trying. But obviously it's not going to look like that.
Yeah, of course. You can't compare yourself to a Hollywood movie. You don't have a Hollywood budget. So you can't compare, because you might do a movie. Your first movie might look like, you're like, what the hell is this crap right here? But you started off with, you got to take the steps to make your stuff better. That's what we've been doing. Like you start off with the movie. Okay, you learn from the mistakes that you did in the last movie. Like, oh, wait a minute. Okay, we got to do better on this. We got to do better on this sound right here. You crawl before you walk, and you keep on just pushing forward, because you're not going to always. That's what when people get discouraged, they looking at other stuff that might be bigger than theirs, and like you're not supposed to. If you're gonna compare yourself to another movie, look at another independent movie, not a big budget movie with Brad Pitt and all of them in there. Of course, your movie ain't gonna look like that. These people got millions of dollars worth of equipment and budget and all that stuff. So, that's just like, I think it's more of people afraid to follow their dreams beyond the normal. Like most people, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna just stick to doing this little job right here. You got two friends. One of them might want to start their own business, and the other one is just content on working the job. They have a conversation one day, and the other friend is basically discouraging him, telling him, hey man, you wasting your time with this. Why don't you just get a real job? The other guy could probably be determined, nah, screw that. I ain't trying to work no job. I'm gonna start my business. And 5 years later, the other guy that wanted to start a business, he's probably having success in his business. And meanwhile, the other friend, he's still working that job, making lesser. And the other friend is basically balling right now. The other guy he's still working the job, but the other friend, he followed his dream, and now he's having success with that. So that's different with the parallels and all of that.
Well, I'm a big fan of quotes, because I think they have this way of epitomizing it. But it's like that quote that says, first they'll ask why, and then they'll ask how. So that they'll go, hey man, why are you doing that? Why are you wasting your time? Why are you doing this? Oh, that's dumb. That's stupid. Like, why? Yeah. And then all of a sudden, 5, 10, 15, 20 years later that everyone's like, how the hell did you get all that shit? And it's like, man, you've been seeing me hustling for 5, 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah,
it didn't happen
exactly.
overnight. You saw all the shit I had to go through to get there.
Yeah. See, that's another thing. People so quick to shoot stuff down if it doesn't work, like, a couple of days, you ain't making no money off of this. Like, of course I'm not gonna make any money off of it in a couple of days. I just started, bro. They want that easy paycheck, like that paycheck every week or every 2 weeks or what have you. And if it ain't making no, they looking at it as a regular job. Oh, well, it's not paying the bills right now. Yeah, right now it's not paying the bills right now, but in the long run, it will. Like, you still working this job while I don't have to work this job. I'm my own boss. But you can't really listen to people like that, because they'll try to bring you down. They don't want to see you doing nothing outside of the norm. If you're doing something other than just a 9-to-5 job, it's a pipe dream to them. So, that's how they think, even though they might not even be helping you fund this stuff, and they still worrying about what you're doing with your own career, even though they not the ones that got to put the money into it. They just want to see you be miserable right along with them. And that's the type of people I said earlier you have to kind of distance yourself from, because they bring a negative energy to you. And that's a distraction.
Yeah, misery likes company. They just want company. Yeah. They just want to make sure that at the end of their life, they're not alone.
Yeah.
And it just holds you back. And it goes back to what we were discussing at the beginning of, like, how you got to be careful who you hang around with, and you got to make sure your friends are truly your friends, as opposed to people who smile to your face and stab you in the back.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, man, I only have one more question for you, and it's probably going to be the hardest question that I'm going to ask. I've probably asked you a couple of tough ones, but if you had to recommend one album that everybody should listen to at least once to get an appreciation of, can be any genre of music, cannot be your own music, what would it be?
Oh, man. Yeah, that's a tough one right there. I would say I'll probably say Kendrick Lamar's first album, Good Kid, Mad City.
Man, I love that album. I actually saw Kendrick live. He's in Melbourne, Australia. He was here, so I saw him on Monday, and such a good album. I honestly think that's his best work. Good Kid, Mad City, those beats and his bars and his flows, like, oh, amazing.
Yeah, the storytelling on the album is real well balanced. It's like he taking you on a whole journey with him. From top to bottom, that whole album right there. That's one of my favorite albums. I mean, it's close to favorite all time, I would say, probably.
Yeah, and Dre production in there, and just they killed it on that. I agree. When people talk about Kendrick's albums, I'm like, that's my number one. Yeah, it's very cohesive album. So I would say that one, Kendrick Lamar. Well, I love that. I appreciate you coming through. Trealetic came through, obviously. So he's sharing some knowledge and sharing and inspiring as well. And it's great to see, I love that message of just because it's not working in one way, keep trying, find your creativity the other way. It'll shift across to your other venture as well. But obviously, make sure you check out his most recent single, Go Ahead Now. He's also on IG as, I think you're on as Fox Kruger or on IG.
Trealetic Mind.
Trealetic Mind.
Yeah.
And then obviously make sure you check out his movies, Checkmate, Bound to Get Ya, and Rumors as well. They're all on YouTube, so you can all check him out and show him some love. But man, is there anything else you wanted to shout out? Anything else you wanted to plug before we wrap it up?
I would just say be on the lookout for our other movie projects we got coming soon. We got a lot of them. You know, it's too many of them to name right now. You know, we also got a documentary out on Prime, the Sarasota documentary, and I would just say, you know, I want to shout out to my man Dub Banks. Go follow him on IG, at the real Dub Banks, and you know, shouts out to my man Eddie Stokes, and you know, that's it right there, man. You know, I got more music on the way, more music videos on the way, more singles on the way. Just I'm just working, man.